right, well, welcome everybody. I'm going to get us started. We've got Matt Boyne's going to start off with an overview of our project management concentration, and then we have other professors. We'll go next. We'll take about 15 minutes for each concentration area, and then we will have a Q&A session at the end. If you get to the end of the session, each concentration section, we can take a few questions, but we'll cut it off at 15 minutes. So we get through all of them, and at the end, we'll have more Q&A at the end. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Matt Boyne.
Hello, everybody. Sure, I'm set. I'm Matt Boyne, for those that I haven't crossed paths with yet. And I've been teaching project management here at Point Loma for about 6 years now. The concentration is designed on the professional body of knowledge. So it's aligned with an institute called the Project Management Institute. Sort of think of it as a CPA type accrediting agency. And it requires the same sort of work effort, 2 to 3 years worth of work, some degrees. But the idea is to have a professional body of knowledge behind project management. So it's everything you'll learn here will prepare you for a certification if you like to pursue that kind of thing. The idea behind the project management profession is strategic execution. Every company that's got trying to put strategy into play, whether it's new product development, entering new markets, merger and acquisition, new financial systems, overseas deployments, supply chain ad infinitum, and it runs healthcare through education. And the idea is to have a standardized way to take strategy into the operational jobs. So project management's pretty much ubiquitous. It's universally found in about every company that's out there. The way we set our concentration up, it's over 2 semesters, and 1 semester is dedicated to the people aspect of project management, human factors, and the other semester is dedicated to the more technical risk control system side. Both semesters use software, so you're getting the same kind of software you use in industry. We use Rike and Trello as ways to manage projects, which pretty much matches what industry is doing. The first team building side of project management is BUS 6067, if I remember correctly. And the focus is on team building, leadership. The leadership models that are found in project management's body of knowledge is either an agile type of leadership known as servant leadership, or situational leadership from Ken Blanchard. So it's grounded in the same sort of leadership theory that you'll find in any MBA leadership class. It's then taken into application with team formation and the classic storming, norming, screaming, yelling, the 5 phases of team development that pretty much is the normal way teams go through their development. Also included is in that class, if you like negotiation, if you like conflict resolution and general business communication, there's modules on each of that, and they prepare you for that section of the test. The second semester, BUS 6068, is old traditional school things like risk management, which has now been broadened to include things like cybersecurity, along with process planning for projects and a bunch of control systems. And we're moving into project predictive analytics just because that's sort of the new wave of project management. So we got a couple modules on analytics inside the project management. If you're following the headlines for what industry is doing right now, everything is called agile, which is started in the software world and now is migrated to everything from healthcare to finance. And agile is basically a form of project management that focuses on self-managed work teams. So more team dynamics. So about 60% of each semester is now integrating agile. And the predominant method has sort of a strange sounding term. It's from rugby. It's called Scrum, but it's just the way the team moves down the field with Scrum. If you look around your companies and start asking the question in industry, about 70% of the companies that are out there, especially in the San Diego area, are using some version of agile, and most of them are using Scrum. And we do some other models too. There's a lean startup model that lends itself very well to new product development. It's called Kanban. It's just a term that means information flow. but it works well in supply chain management projects. We incorporate a lot of design thinking into our system, and then sort of a new old school way of doing things since the Pfizer vaccine came out. We study some concurrent engineering, which is why Pfizer was able to roll a vaccine out in 9 months when previously it had taken 10 months. I'm sorry, 10 years, my fault. I'll just stop for a second. Anything that pique your interest that you'd like me to address a little bit more of or less of? Any questions about specifics that I can answer?
I got a question real quick. How ready would we be to test for our PMP if we were to follow that pipeline?
Well, there's two parts to the question that I need to address. And one is work experience. So last time I looked, I think it's something going to be in the vicinity of 3 to 5 years of work experience and projects, which is defined a little bit differently in the Project Management Institute. So there's the work experience side, there's a degree requirement, at least a bachelor's degree, which of course you guys all have, and some mitigation on the time because of an MBA. But most of my students tell me that they get done and they feel really good about the PMP going through the class because we have practice PMP type questions that are embedded in our textbook and in the class. And then they say, hey, basically I crammed for it for a couple of weeks afterwards and used a self-study guide. And they tend to pass. I haven't heard of anyone failing yet. We just had a young lady pass and she followed that prescription.
Thank you.
And when they cram, they say, it was probably, outside of our program, just to get the test taking system down, it was probably 20, 30 hours of work outside just to get the way the questions are phrased and practice those questions for the test. Anything else I can answer for you right now before I do a little bit more?
And it looks like Norris joined too. So I think he's one of your alums. To incorporate his comments if you'd like, Matt.
Sure. I'll talk a little bit more so Norris can get in the flow, and then I'll turn it over to Norris and see if he has any comments. And if you like, the great thing about the project management concentration is if you like sort of a standardized body of knowledge that you can draw on with a professional background, because you can fact check me as the professor. You call me into question all the time when I say something and you go, well, that's not in the book, and that's the professional body of knowledge. So it makes the learning objectives it's crystal clear. There's right ways to do things. But then there's also a bazillion different variables that are out there that make it incredibly exciting. The profession itself is, I find, just fascinating because it's in every industry and every day is different. Folks tend to think that the certification and software programs will make a good project manager. But I think most guys that have gals and guys that have managed projects will come back and say something along the lines of 80% of my day is spent with people and negotiating for resources, managing conflict, building communication, learning organizations, wrapping up lessons learned. So it's the people aspect that makes it really dynamic and challenging too, because you're actually learning to lead without position. You're leading with expertise and not necessarily positional authority, because quite often you don't carry any specific rank. You're just like any other team member inside the project. So between the structure and the dynamic situation of project management, it can make a really fun day. You can look for career opportunities. Glassdoor's got a great section on what project managers are getting paid, where are the job opportunities, what industries are hiring around San Diego, to give you a feel for what type of project management you're interested in. But it's a pretty lucrative career path if you like it. And the best part is, since you guys are in our program and you're aspiring, developing leadership C-level execs, what you're really going to pick up is how to run a business, because everything in a project is business. It's how do you maximize value for your customer while you maintain the profit potential for your firm. And it's I always say it's the type of profession that can lead to a lifelong vocation. So we just got some new folks as managing our alumni network. So Precious and Lane and Norris Micah and Norris went through my class 2 years ago. No, 1 year ago. 1 year ago. And so he can give you the real learning points and critique my professorial style. But would be on the lookout, because within a month or two, we're going to have some guest speakers available for you. We do it in the evening, tends to be Zoomable. Pre-COVID, we were doing it at Liberty Station. And we had a pretty good turnout with a lot of good information, because our speakers are coming in from industry and they're looking to meet with folks that are aspiring to move into the project management field. Good networking events. So Norris, anything you want to throw in?
To be honest, yeah, I would like to throw in with project management. I did learn a lot from Matt when I was in classes. From the classes, I actually learned how to go ahead and look at the work breakdown structure. And most recently, I actually looked at BMW's breakdown structure when they have a project, any car, and you can actually see how how the car goes through production on each stage. It's just one more thing that was kind of like I couldn't be able to see it without Matt's direction every single time to look for that stuff. So when you start looking at that stuff, you kind of start learning on how you see these things all around you more than before. Before you didn't see it, you thought these things kind of come up, and then after you're finished with project management, you're like, wow, everything is around me is a project. Everything around me is a business. Everything around me is somebody has a structure for it somehow. That's kind of what I kind of took away from all of it.
All
Any
right.
questions or any points we can bring up for you or answer for you, or wait till the end?
Yeah, we got a couple minutes left if there's any more questions. And the networking groups, as Matt talked about, we have 3. We have them aligned with each of the concentrations. So Norris and Passion are volunteers for the project management one. We have, I think, 3 volunteers in innovation entrepreneurship and project and org leadership as well. And they will be putting on events and activities throughout the year for you guys as students. So those are the things to be on the lookout for. All right, well, if there's no questions specific to project management, Randall is here, so we can go ahead and turn it over to Randall for innovation and entrepreneurship.
Cool, thank you very much. Good day, everybody. Good to see everybody here. So innovation entrepreneurship. Clearly, I mean, I agree with everything that Matt said, and obviously his concentration is important. I think it's ours is maybe more important, but that's okay. He does design thinking, we design thinking, he does lean startup approach, so do we. So I completely agree with what Matt has said, and obviously he does a phenomenal job in his concentration. Like now Matt, he left me, so now he's actually back. Thank you, Matt, for joining me. Entrepreneurship and innovation. So pretty much, as you understand, and we all understand, is that to have a competitive, sustainable advantage in any business, we continue to have to be innovating on top of our current business structure and on our products or our services. And so it's a foundational skill set that we teach in this entrepreneurship in this concentration regarding your ability to basically maintain a competitive advantage in the workplace, whatever case may be. And of course, important thing to understand is in many ways is that entrepreneurship and innovation, of course, is spread across all areas and of any business. And I'll talk about that here in just a minute when I go into the actual courses themselves. So again, every MBA program needs a class or 2 that actually provides the opportunity for you to start your own business. And that's kind of the foundational component to having this concentration, where we'll be not giving you enough information if we didn't have a class, at least that if you had an opportunity to build your own class, build your own business, then we wouldn't be offering the opportunity to actually be an entrepreneur yourself. So that being said, I'll just jump into a quick PowerPoint just to cover the courses. So I'm going to slide share here. Here we go. All right, so here's my PowerPoint. And let's jump over into the slideshow. Here we go. All right, everybody can see that? Thumbs up, Jamie, we see that? Cool, excellent. All right, so here's the slideshow, just a very brief one, just to give you an overview of what courses are available. This was a quote that I saw. I'm not sure who the author was, but clearly it's the best MBA concentration in the Point Loma program. So beginning with 676, this is the class that I teach. It obviously has two major projects attached to this class. Obviously, we give you the opportunity to actually build your own business. And like I said before, it's a key skill set that I think all of us should have to some degree. I think it's always great to look at, even you at any business, from a CEO founder's perspective. So we basically take you through the opportunity for you to build your own business from an idea to actually pitching your business idea at the very end of the class. And that pitch itself is really like a funding pitch, having taken you through all the processes to actually get to that point. To get to that point, we cover obviously the validation processes of the problem, of the solution. We validate the marketplace. We look at the competitive marketplace to ensure that you have a value proposition attached to your business. We looked at your business model. Does it work? How does it work? How does it function? And then ultimately look at all the funding sources and the financial requirements needed to launch your business. In addition to that, we actually also ask you to do a minimal viable product, an MVP, which is pretty much taking your vision out of your head and putting it into the real world. This can be done in various ways. If it's a product, we kind of promote an opportunity to actually build a minimal viable product so you can present that to the market. If it's an online digital service for some reason, then we basically looking at building a website or building an app in its foundational phases to show how it would function in the real world. If it's a service, we sometimes even get you out there to do a couple of small integrated service opportunities to show whether your actual service and solution solves the problem. So it's a really integrated, it's a very in the marketplace, it's a very experiential course from that perspective, but it does give you a full understanding of what it's like to have an idea around a business regarding a problem and solving that to the point at which you actually are pitching the idea to potential funders. I quite often try to bring in, like a Shark Tank event, bring in potential funders to actually look at your business. And we've actually had a couple opportunities where actually the judges actually then engaged with the students and helped them actually take the business actually into the real world. So that's a major component for 676. The other part of that, we also actually do, so two main projects, the startup and then the intracourt project. We also know and understand that quite often the entrepreneurial mindset is simply more than just building a business. It's about taking it into your current business environment. So we actually do a project where you actually create value within your current working, within your current job. And actually you approach your business or your boss or whoever may be the most viable candidate, and actually propose a value proposition to engage with them and actually create value within the organization, which is a phenomenal skill set, again, to learn, especially from promotional perspective. If you're not actually working at the time, we can actually get you into another business to do the same concept. So in 676, very applicable, very in the marketplace assignments. One, building your own business. And the other one is actually building a intracorp or entrepreneurial project within a business. And we use the text, The Lean Startup by Eric Ries, which of course, for those of you who've done you've done the Lean Startup book in your 672 class, the core class. This is the additional one, the Startup Way, which actually transfer those same concepts, but puts them within an organization, within an entrepreneurial type environment. So, and that's the textbook for 676. So that's one of the classes. The second one is Applied Innovation. Again, very practical. Dr. Frank Marshall teaches this one. We talk obviously a lot about innovation and ideation around coming up with ideas. We use IDEO design as its infrastructure. They do a lot of redesign techniques regarding innovation, and basically what innovation is kind of taking a product or a service and improving upon it on a regular basis until it actually can be applied in the real world. And so he does a lot of real world opportunities there. In fact, they do actually an innovation tournament where you innovate on a particular problem. You come up with various ideas, you upload those into a platform called Darwinator, and actually that goes out into the marketplace. I'm actually one of the mediators on that, and we actually then rate the different ideas to ultimately come up with the best idea to solve that problem. So this one again is a very highly applied course. Again, all about innovation. It kind of does relate obviously to the 676 one regards the entrepreneurial project, but this has a lot more regarding fully idea development, design thinking, the ideation of new ideas, and taking them into the marketplace. And he has 2 textbooks, one called Overcrowded, and the second one is The Art of Innovation. So pretty much they're the 2 major courses, 676 and 6078. And of course, I do have another quote by Victor Hugo, and he's obviously French, but that we don't hold that against him. Nothing is more powerful than an idea whose time has come. And I think that's kind of what we're, as MBA faculty and as students, I think that's an opportunity for us to embrace the opportunity to potentially build a new idea or a new process or a new product and add it to the real world, because pretty much everything we use in our life is pretty much being ideated and invented and commercialized by somebody else. So why not it be us? So that's me, and I will stop sharing and open to any questions. No one has any questions?
You did a super job.
Super job. Did I run over time? No, I'm still got some time.
Randall, if I may, this is Ryan.
Hey, Ryan.
How you doing? How you doing?
Good. How are you? I love the speaker. I love the kind
right?
of,
That's pretty snazzy.
Cool.
I just wanted to add as an addendum to what you're saying that
Thank you.
actually 2 ladies in my cohort launched a business with what you taught them. So for folks wondering out there, hey, can I really make this in the real world? They totally did, and they're doing it right now. So they launched the business with the material during the course, and so now they're having a lot of fun. So I just wanted to add that as an addendum.
I appreciate that. Yep. So like I said, given the opportunity to actually build a business or understand the concept of innovation and how you can integrate it within, this is a great concentration to take. So yeah, thank you, Ryan. Any other questions? Sebastian, no questions for you, mate. No, you good?
I think Matt had to step out. I was going to say, oh no, there's Matt. So if I were to say this, that the management course is sort of the intro to the org leadership concentration. The innovation entrepreneurship course is obviously an intro to that concentration. Matt, would you say the ops class is sort of the intro to project management in terms of like you're getting a little taste of that class before you get to the concentration?
Exactly. We've got a class in, 2 classes on project management embedded in OpEx. And then we also do the entire second half of the class is lean process improvement project. So
Gotcha.
It works hand in hand.
Yeah, so that's a great way also to think about too. If you get a little, so if one of those 3 classes resonates with you in the core, that can lead you to one of the concentrations as well.
Right, that's a good point. So 672 is probably the core class that actually will inspire you to take it to the next level in entrepreneurship and innovation. Yeah. Any additional comments or thoughts or questions?
All right, well, we are running ahead of time, I think, because we don't have as many questions as we had the last time we did one of these sessions. So, and Randy Waynick is our professor for org leadership, but he is joining us at 4:30. So we have a few minutes. Before we turn it over to Ryan, I'll go back to Norris. Norris, anything that you want to add in terms of project management, and then we'll go to Ryan next.
In terms of, it's just that I just actually graduated, and then I honestly loved how many career opportunities there's out there with this conversation. Like, there's a lot of options that you didn't even expect. Like tech companies, you can go to tech with project management, or you can turn around and go to construction, or you can turn around and go to healthcare. So it's like there is not just, you're not limited into what field you want to be in, and then all of them have a high demand. Like, whenever I look in, there's always something posted for any of these. And I was like considering actually leaving some of my businesses and going to one of them. I was like, let me try this out. That was one of the things that I was very shocked with this concentration, is there's a lot of careers opportunities out there for it.
Yeah, it spans a lot of industries, almost all industries. There are a couple questions. Curtis has his hand up, so we'll go first, and then I'll answer Michael's question in the chat.
Hey, how you doing? Can you hear me clearly? I'm in the car driving. I want to make sure.
Yep.
Perfect. All right. So if I recall, you can sign up for 2 concentrations. Am I correct?
You can. It will require taking additional coursework. So your regular schedule for your MBA is in, this sort of answers Michael's question. Your concentration classes come into play in their last semester, or sorry, your last year in the program. And they're only fall and spring classes. You'll take 1 fall and 1 spring. So it depends a little bit on when you entered the MBA program. But Lauren, if you need to declare it now, Lauren's reaching out to you. If it impacts your spring course selections, she'll be reaching out to you, because we'll be registering you for spring classes. So just if Lauren's reaching out to you about declaring, make sure that you do, so we can put you in the right spring class. And then, so Curtis, yes, so you could take more than 1 concentration. You could take them at the same time, potentially. It would just depend on the night of the week. That would put you at 3 classes during the week in those fall and spring semesters to do 2 concentrations. So it would depend on if the 2 that you wanted were not conflicting and weren't on the same night offered. And Lauren could help you figure that out as well.
All right, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, just send me an email and we can set up a Zoom session if you have like actual further questions about that.
All right, can I come see you on Monday a little early?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no problem.
All right, perfect.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
And I know Matt's going to step out. So any questions for Matt before he heads out? He's got class tonight. All right. Thanks, Matt.
Hey, thanks, everybody. Have a great night. Take care.
Thanks, Matt.
See you.
All right.
Just to highlight, in the event that you're thinking about being an entrepreneur, or maybe this concentration, on the 17th, we're actually going to have the Innovation and Entrepreneurship Network are putting together a little panel for a day in the life of a startup CEO, so startup founder. So if something that you're interested in, you want to find more information, whether that's that may be what you want to be doing in the future, that's probably a great event to join us. We'll get more information out on, but it's basically November 17th at 4:30. So just an opportunity to kind of maybe help you decide whether you want to go entrepreneurship, innovation, or any other concentrations.
Awesome. Yeah, that'll be one of the first events from that networking group. So, all right. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question for Jamie and Lauren.
Yep.
I am part of the daytime MBA program, and I was wondering how the concentrations will fit into the schedule and the courses.
Yeah, that's a good question. They don't. So daytime students, instead of the concentration, you will do the leadership communication course and the field experience next summer. And but if you want to stay on a little bit longer and earn a concentration, you certainly can. Or if this spring you wanted to take one of them at night, it'd be in the evening program, you could potentially do that as well. So again, those would be things to follow up with Lauren. At the end of the program for daytimers, she will reach out to all daytime students and ask if you want to stay on to earn a concentration. And you can do that in the fall and spring of next year. Or you could potentially do one of them this spring and one of them next fall, depending on your workload.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, good question. All right, it is 4:30. and Randy hasn't joined us yet. So I think we can go ahead and start with Ryan. Ryan's an alum, and he's also the one of the co-chairs of the org leadership networking group, the ones we've been talking about. So I'm going to turn it over to Ryan to give you some insight on org leadership. And then when Randy joins us, I know he has a slide deck to share with you as well.
Great. Thanks, Jamie. Hi, everyone. I'm Ryan. I graduated just a couple of years ago myself. So I'll start by saying, don't be beguiled by Randall's project or innovation or any of that stuff. It's all about leadership. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Come on, Ryan.
You could
Come
drive
on.
a Prius or an F1, you know, no, I'm just teasing. Yeah, so, you know, the PLNU experience, and I say this as a recent alumni, and as a leader of a healthcare organization. So I actually lead part of Ready Children's. You know, it really sets a platform of both qualitative and quantitative skill sets. So throughout the entirety of your journey, it's going to be building on different leadership talents, whether it's qualitative, developing your emotional intelligence, or it's more quantitative, teaching you how to do NPV calculations, project analysis, how to pick successful winners, or how to choose or avoid courses that might make your business fail if you were to launch a business or you're heading up a big institution. So, you know, it touches on a number of different things. For me, at least, the foundation of it is the values. So there's a number of courses like Leading with Integrity, Purpose, and a few others that really institutionalize and give you a voice as a leader. You know, I can tell you, I still remember meeting Jamie when I had applied, and I told her what I was interested in, and it was the leadership skill sets, because I knew I would need that for where I'm at right now. And I can be thoroughly honest, you use it every day. It just, you use it so much to the point where it's now automatic. So, you know, there's a lot of big things that you can take away, but again, institutionalizing your values in your leadership style, because you will have your own leadership styles, I guarantee you. Developing soft skill sets like emotional intelligence, collaboration, conflict resolution are always necessary if you're going to lead a big organization or launch very large initiatives. A number of the other areas I spoke to, like leading with integrity and ethics, you'll learn as well, and the values and importance those have in any kind of institution. There's some elective courses there about leadership that teach you motivational things like stressors and things to shape and to define culture and the impact of leadership. And those are truly things that you can take in any capacity. And I use, again, daily in my actions at Rady's, at least. So I can thoroughly say when I got through it as an alumni, I was very, very happy with what I took out, because I get to bug my team daily about things with it. So, you know, the biggest thing I'll just simply say is the leadership courses will empower you to handle situations you may not be confident today, or you may not be certain about right now, but you can navigate uncertainty really well by relying on your leadership skills. So, yeah, overall it was a tremendous journey, and looking forward to the org leadership network here, kicking off some events.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. And that was perfect leadership to transition into. Randy joined us.
Oh, perfect.
So we can, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, Randy.
Okay.
So let's see, so that you can have that slide deck. And let's see, make sure, yep, okay. Woo.
Okay, let me just move this around. Hey, well, so thanks. I apologize everyone for being late. I had to finish up another call, and but it sounds like, Ryan, you nailed it. Sign me up. I want to get into this concentration quick. So if we just kind of run through it, my idea is just to kind of tell you why this is a good concentration and how you'll get benefit from it, and also sort of profit from it from the standpoint of where it could take you. So, first thing is why, right now, I don't need to tell you that we're living in a very dynamic sort of environment. The economy, the needs of the workforce, the economy coming out of COVID is just incredible. And we're just starting. It's going to get much bigger. Organizations will change. The reliance and dependence and the necessity of having people that are really skilled in understanding, organizational behaviors and leadership is only going to grow. So you'll see there's a force in the world economy that's pushing towards the type of things that this concentration it offers. There's been a shift in virtually every organization as we sort of matured and developed. and we've moved more into the science of management and leadership, there's really sort of the next generation of leaders needs to be more empathetic, needs to understand, artificial intelligence, needs to really identify with issues that individuals need as far as motivation and communication, diversity. All those issues reside in this sort of management and leadership focus as you go forward. And it applies to every organization. So if you're going to be working, like Ryan for Rady's in a hospital, if you're going to be working for a nonprofit, all these skills, all the things that you learn are applicable. If you're working in pretty much any sector, any industry, you'll get value out of the things that you pull out of this program and the deeper dive looking into sort of the organization and leadership concentration. A couple of headlines. I just grabbed these. Actually, I should have updated them. These are a few months old, but leadership mindsets for the new economy. Leadership will change forever after the corona pandemic. Business leaders have to create change needed to end racism. There's all these things going on. I don't need to sell you on just how dynamic the last 2 years, 18 months has been. And that will manifest, that will drive the need for leaders and for people that understand the way people operate in organizations. So there's a drive in the economy, there's a drive in the marketplace, and this concentration answers a lot of the questions, a lot of the needs in the economy today. So how do we do it? Current relevant material, the textbooks, the case studies, the videos, the things you'll be working on as far as group projects are all application-based, they're all current and contemporary. So what you're not getting is this old school, learning the basics of something. You get a bit of that, but at this point, you're really looking at how does this apply? How do I sort of articulate this knowledge, this expertise in real world settings? And that's what this program does. And it kind of goes through the buzzwords, which are really not buzzwords. They're critical for your understanding: culture, diversity, globalization, technology, communication, ethics, motivation. There's no company that these aren't priorities for, and certainly in the United States, but globally. And we do that. We touch on these, and we dive a little bit, deeper than just surface level in the organizational behavior course, as well as the business leadership course. So you'll get it from a couple of different perspectives, looking at it from different disciplines and different sort of lenses, but you're diving deep into these topic matters. And that's what the program offers. It's the way it's designed. That's the way the material, the text, everything is selected, pushing it towards this expanded knowledge that can be applied. And the next one is, don't take my word for it, that was Ryan. Ryan, you did awesome. I came in on the end. Like I said, sign me up. Any questions, any comments, or anything I could maybe expand on for you? Samuel.
Yes. Yeah, I just had a question. So this class is going to be, this concentration will be 2 classes in the next 2 semesters, right?
It depends on, so if you haven't taken a concentration yet, but Lauren's saying that you need to, it will be spring and fall. The concentration classes aren't taught in the summer, so it's either going to be spring, fall. So it just depends on where you are in the cohort.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
So some of
I have
you
a question.
take your first one in the spring and second one in the fall. Some of students take their first one in the fall, second one in the spring. So it just depends on where you are. Go ahead, Curtis.
Thank you. Sorry for interrupting you. So as far as this concentration goes, how much do you concentrate on like emotional intelligence and some of the more modern organizational leadership things?
Well, it's certainly a core part. I think it comes up in both classes. It's not an emotional intelligence course, but we actually look at it from the standpoint of how do you sort of create structure? What are some of the key drivers? I think the good thing about it is we actually look at some of the motivators. We look at the social sciences and we look at the current research that will speak to this idea of being aware, listening more, communicating more, and sort of trying to dive in and understand, what is really the motivators behind employee behavior, leadership sort of direction, and things like that. So it's not an extensive, all-inclusive deep dive on it. It's really intended to sort of take it explore it, spend, as an example, it would be a part of basically, leadership behavior and actions. And it would be about a week long sort of a module that sort of shows up, and we'll talk about all kinds of things with a focus on understanding, reading, sensing what is going on with the organization, the people in the organization. So it's I would say it's a good portion of both classes, but it's not, the class isn't designed around emotional intelligence.
We have a question in the chat from Fidel. And so Fidel works in development, specifically fundraising, and he's asking which of these would be best. So I think a good way to answer that, because I think all three are applicable. So maybe we'll start with Randall, and Randall talk about how innovation entrepreneurship might apply to somebody who's in fundraising or in development. Randy, we'll go to you, and then I'll try to wrap up with the way Matt might, and then Ryan and Norris can chime in as well.
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, the foundation, obviously, in the entrepreneurial space and innovation space, you're always basically looking at funding sources. You're identifying timelines. You're looking at basically flow charts of funding, as well as capitalization of cost attached to budgets. So it really is, from a fundraising perspective, from a financial perspective, is very intense, and it's obviously a unique way. Obviously, when you're doing fundraising. You're basically fundraising for a particular project or mission or cause. And of course, that's what we do completely in entrepreneurship and innovation. So when it comes to the funding perspective and fundraising perspective, the principles and the skill sets that you learn in these two courses will obviously directly apply to what you would do in the real world. So funding, and what else was there? Something else? Funding and
same thing, fundraising and development.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, yeah. I mean, pretty much you're building the whole time. You're always building from a development perspective, and obviously innovating on the processes. Because remember, innovation doesn't have to mean just a single product. It could be in the process part of it, can be in the fundraising part of it, could be in customer communication. I mean, so innovation, obviously, the spectrum of innovation within an organization is massive. Not just outside of what you typically look at being the product or the service. Within the organization and all the silos or departments of a company, you're always innovating. So again, which obviously defined itself by the use of development. So definitely is a connection, and certainly from an entrepreneurial perspective, in 676, the entrepreneurial project, you could actually take that a particular project which is in that sector and then build it out during the course itself to have some real world experience in doing so, and we'd guide you through that process too. So certainly an easy fit for us, I would say.
Randy, thoughts on org leadership and development and fundraising?
Yes, I think, if the chart I kind of ran through really quick, you look at what are you going to be dealing with in nonprofit, for-profit, fundraising, project teams, engineering, whatever it is, you're going to be dealing with culture. What's the culture of that organization? What's the culture of that company? I think just as important is what's the culture of the companies that you're going to be trying to fundraise with, or the individuals. You think about that. Diversity is universal. It applies no matter if it's for-profit, nonprofit, if it's entrepreneurship, or if it's a well-established brand that's been around for hundreds of years. Relevant topics. Globalization. You look at globalization. What are the trends? What's going on? How do you learn from other countries? What are the data sources? How do you dive deeper into other markets? Because there may be something going on over there relative to fundraising or the way things are structured as far as organizations. Communication is a key part of both the org behavior and the leadership. What channels do you use? What are most effective? How should leaders sort of check their communication to see if it's actually the signal's getting through? Critically development for development, fundraising, nonprofit, whatever it might be. And then ethics, it applies, all the topics that we teach in the management or the leadership concentration are universal. Culture, diversity, ethics apply. It doesn't matter ultimately what that business is or what that industry is. It applies to humans. It applies to organizations, the way you interact, the way you communicate. So I would say everything we do would apply to fundraising, nonprofits, because it is foundational in any organization.
Yeah, so Fidel, my answer on behalf of Matt's probably going to not help you decide, but maybe it gives you some insight of which of these three resonate with you most. So I would say project management is a process. There is a process and tools that you use to manage a project from start to finish. And so in many industries, there are project managers. So that is their job. That's what they're responsible for, projects within that industry. In fundraising, though, you could certainly have a fundraising campaign that you put the project management process towards to develop and implement a campaign. So I think that would be how I would answer it on behalf of Matt. I would definitely follow up with Matt on some more specifics about fundraising and development. That would be my answer. Ryan or Norris, anything that you would add?
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll actually give a real world example. So I actually used a little bit of all three of the disciplines. I actually hosted a fundraising event at Rady's. So we did a dinner for all of the families that fly in or stay there for long term. So we fed a little over 500 people. And to be quite honest, I had to use the leadership talents from the leadership courses to pitch the idea to my executive staff who bought into it. I told my staff, let's make a project plan so we didn't, have 500 hungry people. So we actually deviated and divvied that up to identify what are all of our resource constraints, what do we need, what are all the materials and stuff. And then I used a lot of the lean startup to try and go out to coordinate with a number of the grocery chains that are in San Diego. And so thankfully, a lot of them were on board with this. So a team of about 5 of us, I ended up putting this on, and we fed about 500 families at Rady's. So it borrowed elements from all of it. So, if you're into fundraising, I'd say you can definitely use any element of those disciplines.
Norris, go ahead.
Okay. So for me, I actually did use a lot of project management and a lot of the lean startup. And when I actually got back to my business, I do real estate. And right now I'm looking actually to expand up having my own team for the real estate side of my business. And with the project management, this is what I learned. I learned how to structure things, put them to perspective. Where's my time being wasted? And then with the startup side of it, I learned where I can go ahead and see where are the opportunities. What am I missing? What are my clients? See, kind of test out what are the new perspective of me getting clients. That's what was kind of what came in from the lean startup, and then project management was more of a structural. That kind of gave me a lot of benefits on my business side. And then I'm looking forward to actually using my leadership skills soon, hopefully when I expand.
Awesome. All right, Cindy asked in the chat if she's torn between two, who can she talk to? So definitely reach out to Randy Wainick, Randall Schober. Frank Marshall also teaches in entrepreneurship, so you can reach out to him, or Matt Boyne as faculty representatives. And then we can also put you in touch with, Ryan is here. So he's, I'm sure, available to speak with you after this. Norris is here as well. We have other committee members from the MBA Alumni Board who oversee those network concentration areas. And so they're definitely advocates for each of the various concentrations and can give you a little more insight as you dig a little deeper to make sure you find the right one for you. The other thing to think about too is if you wanted to sit in on a class this semester, we have, there's, as I said, one of the classes is in the fall, one of the classes in the spring. Find out from Lauren what night the concentration class is being held on this semester and ask the professor if you can pop in and join the class. That's always a good way to get a feel for it as well. All right.
To give you an objective answer, of course, organizational leadership concentration is the one, so just you could talk to those other guys, but I don't know.
And again, you're incorrect, but that's okay, Randy. It's okay to be wrong once a day, right?
So Curtis is asking for innovation and entrepreneurship. Is there a class that explores raising money for your business?
Yeah, so we look at different funding sources. One of the areas that we look at actually is basically completely focusing on what funding sources, how much you should raise, when you should raise it, who to approach, how to approach, what a pitch deck would look like. So we cover all the areas. In fact, at the very end of the project, once we've validated, once we actually come up with a business model that actually works, a competitive marketplace, we then spend the rest of the semester basically building off the funding sources and putting a pitch deck together for that very reason.
All right, that was my dog crying. Any other questions? We're almost, we've got 10 minutes left, so we're a little under time, which is awesome. Gives you guys all time to get ready for class tonight if you have class. Any last questions before we head out? All right, first, I want to especially thank Ryan and Norris, our alumni, for joining us tonight and giving their insight. I so much appreciate that. And obviously, Randall and Randy, thank you so much for teaching in these classes for our MBA program and for being here tonight to give everybody some insight. And Matt as well, who had to sign out early because he has class tonight. So thank you, everybody. Have a great night. Have a great class. If you
Thanks,
have
Jamie.
class tonight.
Thanks for everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.